So I want to talk about this subject that often comes up, and it's dealing with emotionally unavailable people. So you're not just attracting emotionally unavailable people. The problem for many people is that you continue to stay in relationships with emotionally unavailable people. And then, unfortunately, you become emotionally invested. And over time, what starts to happen is that you become the only one in the relationship who is emotionally invested. Just imagine that. So, which means that you're the one thinking about the relationship. You're the one trying to fix things that are going on in the relationship. You're the one trying to understand what's going on in the relationship. And the person is there physically, but they're not showing up. Definitely not showing up the same way that you are emotionally. So, I want to be able to talk about this. So, we're going to slow this down so you can really, really understand what's happening if this is you. Because this is not just about them. Okay? They may be emotionally unavailable, but this is about the pattern that keeps you connected. So, you're going to meet all types of people. It's inevitable. We can't help it. Some will be emotionally available and some will not. The difference between the two is not who you meet. The difference is who you continue to stay with after you start seeing the signs. So, the first area that I want to talk about is what emotional unavailability actually looks like. So, let's define this clearly. An emotionally unavailable person is someone who cannot consistently show up in a relationship in an emotionally present and engaged way. Okay. And so this is really important because they don't always show up that way in the beginning. I always tell people that people are introduced to the representative of who they are. So that representative in the beginning, they may call you, text you, show very strong interest in you, do amazing things for you, make you feel like this could actually go somewhere. But over time, things begin to change and they become inconsistent. One day they are present, calling, showing up, being there. The next day they're distant. They avoid deeper conversations. And when things start to get really serious, they begin to pull back, change the subject with certain conversations, or they'll just completely shut down. So they do not consistently follow through on what they say. They keep, they make promises, they make arrangements. I don't even want to call them promises, but they make arrangements and plans and don't keep them. So the key issue is not that they never show up. It is that they do not show up consistently. So, and consistency is what actually really builds emotional safety in any relationship. All right. So the second area that I want to talk about is why this creates confusion. Now, this is where people tend to get stuck because you experience something real in the beginning with this person. So when their behaviors begin to change, you're trying to make sense of what is happening because again, you met the representative, okay? So you start asking yourself like, what happened? Did I do something wrong? Maybe they're just too busy. They have work, they have their business, they have their parents that they're taking care of. You come up with all type of reasons. So instead of focusing on what is happening right now, you start focusing on how it felt in the beginning and what that was like. You hold on to those earlier moments, those feel good moments, the things that really made you smile. And that actually is what keeps you connected longer than you should be because I hear so many people saying, oh, it's potential, the representative. Now, why this can feel familiar is my next section. Now, let's go a little bit deeper with that because for many people, this dynamic does not feel new. For many people, it's very familiar. So if you're used to not knowing where you stand, having to figure people out, feeling like you have to earn attention. And for most people, like growing up, they had to like, hey, I'm getting good grades. Then inconsistency can feel normal for them. So instead of stepping back, you tend to lean in because you're familiar with those patterns, those dynamics. So you try to understand it, you try to fix it, you try to make it make sense, but it's familiar for you. So you stay in what's familiar. Okay. Now, the validation pattern. And this is where it starts. Where you really pretty much like start investing more time. You communicate more. You give more. You try to show up in a way that makes the relationship work. Remember, hey, I got good grades type of thing. So you're doing those same things that you did growing up as a child. Because part of you believe that if you can get this person to become consistent, like get this person to see you, it means something more about you. And then it can start to feel like if they choose me, then I must be enough. But here's the problem. You're trying to get clarity and reassurance from someone who is not consistent. Think about that mother or that father was not consistent in your life. They showed up and then they left. They showed up and they left. So instead of feeling secure, you continue to feel unsure. All right. Now, the next section is why you stay. And let's be honest. You see the inconsistency, you feel the difference, yet you stay. And it's not because you do not see it. You see it. It is because of what you are holding on to. And so you're holding on to how it felt in the beginning. And because this was what you needed as a child. And so you're holding on to that because somebody's giving you something that you needed. What you believe it could become. And that's where, oh, there's the potential and the hope that it will change. Maybe things will get better. So letting go of that hope can become very difficult, even when the current reality is not meeting your actual needs here and now. Okay. Now, I want to talk about one thing you can start doing differently. And here's something I want you to start doing. Okay. Instead of asking yourself, do I like them? Because, yeah, you do. I want you to start asking yourself, how do I feel when I am with them? Okay. And that is a very different question because, yeah, you do like them. That's why you keep staying there. Now, I want to be able to break this down in my last section because when you ask, do I like them? You will focus on attraction, chemistry, and potential. And I talked about that potential a little moment ago. But now, when you ask, how do I feel when I'm with them? You will start noticing, do I feel secure? Okay. Do I feel confused? Do I feel anxious? Do I feel like I have to figure things out on my own? And that question will give you the clarity that you actually need. All right. So so now I want to talk about how to apply it. Okay. So if you consistently feel confused, uncertain, like you are overthinking, like you are doing more emotionally in this relationship, that is not something for you to ignore. Okay. That is information that you need to be aware of. Like journal and pay very close attention to these things. Self-awareness is definitely necessary. But many people ignore that information because they are focused on how much they like the person. Okay. And as a therapist, I want you to understand this. Your emotional experience in the relationship is data. Think about the data that you collect if you're in some sort of business that needs data for quality assurance or something. It is not something for you to dismiss. You can't dismiss it on your job. So it is something for you to pay attention to because it's necessary for you to continue getting grants, right? Because your feelings are often responding to a pattern before your mind fully accepts it. So that data is really important, okay? So again, this is not just about who you attract. It is more so about what you stay connected to. Okay. Who are you staying connected to? And what you continue to invest in emotionally. So I definitely encourage you to pay attention to how you feel in the relationship. Take note of those things. Again, that's data. Pay attention. Journal it. Not just how you feel about the person, because the feelings are real and you will believe the feelings more so than the data. But I encourage you to pay more attention to the data that you're collecting and how these feelings are affecting you throughout this relationship.